person who makes films. I'm speaking as a citizen who knows about history, who has always tried to be nonpartisan in everything. But in this case, I felt it was time. There was a circumstance where I felt the person running for president was so unqualified, and I am not alone. Almost everyone in the historical position knows that to be the case, and have written about it and talked about it, and have tried to warn a populace sort of distracted and infatuated.
The camera zooms in on the set of a popular talk show as host Anderson Cooper introduces the legendary filmmaker and documentarian Ken Burns, renowned for his deep dives into American history. The crowd cheers as Burns sits down with a calm yet powerful demeanor. His latest project on the American Civil War has garnered critical acclaim, but today he's about to shift the conversation to the political crisis that has rocked the country in recent years. Burns, known for his careful analysis and deep understanding of history, is about to drop a bombshell that no one saw coming. Anderson Cooper leans forward, the atmosphere tense. Ken, you've spent your career chronicling the pivotal moments of American history, but we're in the midst of a new crisis right now. How do you see the events of the past few years fitting into the broader narrative of our country's history? Ken Burns takes a deep breath, his face serious but determined. Anderson, the events we've witnessed, the rise of Donald Trump and the division he's sown, are not merely a political anomaly, they are a pattern we've seen before in American history. But what we're seeing now is a direct attack on the foundations of democracy itself. The major truth bombshell. The camera cuts to a close-up of Burns as he leans forward, his voice steady but forceful. He begins with a story from history, drawing a parallel between Trump's rhetoric and the dangers of populism throughout the country's past. You see, Burns continues, Donald Trump, with all of his divisive rhetoric, is playing a dangerous game. It's a game we've seen before in our history, when demagogues seek to exploit fear, manipulate truth, and tear down the very institutions that are meant to protect our democracy. I've studied history, and what I've learned is that when leaders like Trump undermine the very fabric of truth and trust, the consequences are devastating. The audience sits in stunned silence. Burns pauses for effect, before continuing with his truth bombshell. What many people don't realize is that Trump didn't just attack the press or his political opponents. He attacked the very idea of truth itself, and that, Anderson, is not just dangerous, it's un-American. A gasp runs through the audience as Burns drops the truth bomb. Trump's rhetoric isn't new, it's been used throughout history to destabilize societies. What sets him apart is the way he's manipulated the American public into believing lies as truths. And I have to say, the fact that we are still debating these lies today speaks volumes about how far we've fallen. The fallout. The camera cuts to Anderson Cooper, visibly shaken by Burns' words. That's a heavy statement, Ken, but you're not alone in your concerns. Many Americans are beginning to realize that we've entered a dangerous period where truth and facts are under assault. But can we recover from this? Ken Burns nods solemnly. It's going to take time, Anderson, but recovery is possible if we as a nation can begin to recognize the threat for what it is. We've been here before in history. It's happened when we've allowed falsehoods to take root in the collective consciousness. But if we fight for truth, if we fight for accountability, we can rebuild our democracy. As Burns speaks, the camera cuts to a montage of headlines, from Trump's attack on the 2020 election results to the January 6 Capitol riots. The weight of Burns' words hangs in the air, each frame reinforcing the magnitude of what's at stake. The montage culminates in a shot of a broken American flag, fluttering in the wind, symbolizing the fractured state of the nation.
Difference between populism and its many manifestations in American history and meism, which is, of course, just an egocentrism that will grasp at any straw and do anything and say anything to get elected. So we do have a cast of characters. This is human nature. We're going to have people like this. Perfidy is not a stranger to us. The greed and generosity come in the same kinds of quantities, but
the response, the impact of Burns' words spreads rapidly. Social media erupts, with reactions ranging from admiration to shock. His statement is picked up by news outlets across the country. Prominent political figures, pundits, and ordinary citizens begin weighing in. Some applaud Burns for speaking truth to power, while others, particularly Trump's supporters, lash out at the filmmaker, accusing him of political bias. But even amidst the backlash, the truth Burns spoke is undeniable. For days after the interview, the conversation doesn't die down. News networks host panels discussing the historical implications of Trump's presidency, drawing on Burns's insights into past leaders who attempted to manipulate truth for personal and political gain. The long-term impact in the weeks that follow, the narrative shifts. More people begin to question the falsehoods that Trump and his allies have peddled, and a renewed focus on fact-checking and holding politicians accountable begins to emerge. The 2024 election cycle approaches, and voters are more engaged than ever, determined to restore a sense of truth and decency to the political process. Ken Burns continues to speak out, appearing on various talk shows and platforms to emphasize the importance of history in understanding the present. His documentary series, now more relevant than ever, becomes a beacon of hope for those longing for a return to integrity and leadership. The immediate reaction as soon as the segment ends, social media erupts with a tidal wave of reactions. Ken Burns' words have hit a nerve with both his supporters and critics, leading to heated debates across platforms. The hashtag #KenBurnsTruthBomb quickly trends on Twitter, as people from all walks of life weigh in on the filmmaker's powerful statement. Politicians, pundits and ordinary citizens alike are stunned by his boldness. On one side, liberal commentators hail Burns as a voice of reason, praising his unflinching commitment to calling out the dangerous path Trump has led the country down. Finally, someone in the public sphere is telling the truth about the current state of our democracy, says one political analyst on MSNBC. Ken Burns just highlighted what many of us have been thinking for years, but were too afraid to say out loud. On the other hand, Trump's loyalists quickly mobilize, denouncing Burns as a liberal elitist who doesn't understand the will of the people. Conservative pundits accuse Burns of spreading lies and weaponizing history to discredit Trump and the millions of people who continue to support him. Fox News hosts launch scathing critiques, calling the documentary filmmaker's comments political grandstanding designed to attack the former president. Despite the backlash, Burns' truth bomb seems to have achieved what he set out to do: force a national reckoning on the dangerous rhetoric that Trump continues to amplify. The historical context, the ripple effects of Burns' words begin to unfold in academic circles as well. History professors, authors, and political scientists start diving into Burns' remarks, analyzing the historical parallels he drew between Trump and past demagogues. A number of universities across the country organize panels and discussions, inviting experts to evaluate the significance of Burns' critique. At Harvard University, political historian Dr. Samuel Jenkins holds a seminar where he examines Burns' argument that Trump's rhetoric mirrors the rise of populist leaders from history, particularly those who relied on fear, misinformation, and distrust to gain power. Burns is not just talking about Trump as an individual, Dr. Jenkins explains. He's talking about a broader historical trend that has threatened democracies time and time again. The moment we lose sight of the truth.
16 years, our elections, though bitterly contested, have featured the philosophies and characters of candidates who were clearly qualified. That is not the case this year. One is glaringly not qualified.
We lose everything. Professors begin recommending Burns' interviews and comments to students as part of their coursework on democracy, authoritarianism, and American political history. A new wave of activism. Burns' Bombshell ignites a new wave of activism across the nation. Young voters, particularly those who have been disillusioned by the chaos of recent years, are starting to mobilize with newfound energy. As the 2024 election season draws nearer, political organizers and grassroots movements begin to shift their focus. The Truth First campaign, a group of progressive political activists, releases an ad using Burns' powerful words to rally people around the importance of voting with integrity. The group's message is clear: the fight for democracy isn't just about opposing one party, it's about protecting the very foundation of truth and trust that holds the nation together. Ken Burns just gave us a wake-up call, says one of the campaign's leaders. We can't afford to sit idly by while lies continue to poison our democracy. Burns' statement also gains traction among those who are part of the growing movement to push back against misinformation and conspiracy theories. Organizations like Media Matters and Fact Check Org amplify Burns' truth bomb by issuing reports and social media posts underscoring the dangers of a society where truth is regularly undermined. Public figures involved in these efforts start to quote Burns in interviews, using his words as a shield against the daily barrage of false narratives pushed by Trump's media allies. Stay informed and be part of the conversation as we dive deeper into the stories that are shaping our future. Hit that subscribe button now and never miss a moment of